All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you're enjoying your February vacation. If you're seeing this, it's because you are attempting to complete your lab report, but I imagine you all have questions as to how to create the graph that's going to be needed to get the grade I want you to get. So if you follow along with me, we're going to create this graph in Excel. So if you have it on your computer, you can go to the Start menu if you're on a PC, or if you're on the Mac like me, you'll see down here Microsoft Excel. So we're going to open that in just a moment. My computer's slow. Okay, there we go. All right, so we want to create a new Excel workbook. Wait for it. There we go. Okay, so there were two things we were looking at, one of which was time, so in minutes. Oh, come on, there we go. And then we had two tests that we ran. One was the control group and one was the experimental group, which is where you introduced your independent variable. So the control group, oh, that's in caps, don't want that. Control group, this was, well, no, let's do CO2 concentrations in parts per million, control group, okay. And then we had CO2 concentrations in parts per million, the experimental group. Okay. Now that we've got our parameters set, we can create the graph. So if you recall, every measurement we took was in increments of 1 minute. So we're going to set that up here. There we go. And now we're going to add our information. So I'm just going to make my info up, but you should have your data that you collected in your lab journals, which you're going to use to fill this stuff out. So let's put that in. Let's make up some numbers. So let's say that we had 400 for the first one. Should have been around there. And then let's say it jumped up to 1204, and then let's say 1578, and then let's say it went to 2435. I'm just making this up, but you guys should have your data, and you should be following along as we do this. Okay. All right, and then let's say it skyrocketed up to 6,578, and let's say it went up to 8,212, 9,732, and then let's say 10,132. There we go, and one more, 12,304. Okay. So if we were to just make a graph of this, we would select that, but what we want is a graph that shows both our control group and our experimental group together, so that we can have we can compare them and see how the data changed when we introduced our variables. So we're going to make up another data set here. Let's say this one skyrocketed even faster because we introduced something like double the yeast, for instance, in our experiment. So we're going to make this one go a lot faster. Let's say that. Boom. Okay, and then let's say it went up to 12. Nope. 19, and then let's say it went up to 20,652. Okay, so the next step, you all should be here along with me, is to select everything and go to Insert, Chart. So if you go to Chart, actually if you go to Chart up here, if you're using a PC it should be similar. You should see on this top tab, if you look at where my mouse is, you should see Charts. So you're going to click on Charts. Good. And we're going to be doing a scatter chart today, so click on Scatter. And then we want the smooth marked scatter. So it'll show a scatter plot, but it will have lines connecting the dots, and it will be smooth lines. So let's give that a try, see what we get. Boom. Beautiful, huh? Look at that graph. Wow. Perfect. Look at how clearly you can see our experimental group, how the data changed from the control group here, if you see that. Now, are we done yet? No, we're not done yet. We have to, excuse me, we have to correctly label this graph so that we can understand what's going on. So We've got our data sets there, that's a good start, but we need to make sure that anybody who didn't do this experiment can see what's going on. So the bottom axis, the x-axis here, will be time. So if you go to axis, you look where my mouse is here, you're going to see there's a chart title and then there's axis titles. So we're going to label our horizontal axis below the axis, and that'll pop up. And you're going to say time in minutes. Okay, there we go. Now, are we done yet? Nope. We got to do the vertical axis. So we want to do a rotated title on the vertical axis. There we go. And this one is CO2 concentrations in parts per million, or ppm. Okay. Okay, and we can put that in parentheses. There we go. Okay, are we done yet? No, we have to title this. So we're going to go to chart title, title above the chart. Boom, there we go. Let's make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. I like it. Oh yeah, that's very nice. Okay. Chart title. Now this should be a descriptive title that's telling the reader or the viewer what exactly you did. So let's say that our independent variable was, let's say we use glucose instead of sucrose in our experiment. So this would be monitoring cellular respiration rates in yeast by substituting glucose for sucrose. Boom. That's pretty descriptive. Now, if I had never seen this before and wanted to understand what was going on, I would see, okay, so the blue is the control group, which meant that they were using sucrose for that, and that explains that trend. Then the red is what happens when you substitute sucrose with glucose. And you can see that because the yeast doesn't have to perform hydrolysis in order to get at the glucose in the sucrose, it's just been given raw glucose, you can see how that rate exponentially increased. And your graph should look pretty similar to this. This should be almost along the same trend as what you will find when you put in your actual data. Okay, so I want to make these all capitalized because I'm kind of OCD like that. And hopefully you guys understand how this works. If you want to use this, you can copy this, and then if you open it in a Word document, you will see that I can then, I believe you can just paste it, and bada boom, do it. I think it's thinking. Yes, boom, see that? Okay, awesome, there you go. And now in your data, in your results section, that's where you would put this. And in the results section, you would also be explaining what happens. So you can say that, oh, if you look by looking at the graph, you can see that this is what happens when you substitute glucose for sucrose. Okay. Good luck, guys. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. I'm awfully proud of you, and I hope you're all rested and ready for science when we meet together